Hey, shalom everyone. Amanda here. Welcome back to the podcast, and I pray that you all have had a blessed day. It was a blessed day for me, but a rather long one, and I am exhausted today. I almost didn't make it on to record this episode, but I really wanted to record it and publish it so that y'all would have access to it tonight. It is a two-parter, so this will be part one, and then part two. I'm looking at a really busy day tomorrow. I will try to do it tomorrow. If not, I may do it Sunday. Sabbath, I really just want to just rest and not do anything on the Sabbath. So if I don't get it out tomorrow, part two, then I will definitely try to do it Sunday or Monday, possibly. I don't know. I'm not really running on a schedule with this podcast. This podcast has been so all over the place. As I said before, I honestly didn't think that I was going to continue, and come to find out, I've recorded so many episodes that I pretty much made a new season. So I don't know, I just kind of go where I'm led and how y'all wants me to do it. And so yeah, there's no schedule, but just be on the lookout. There will be a part two to this episode. So anyways, before I talk about what my word this evening is about, I just want to share something real quick before I forget. I usually try to do announcements or share things in the beginning of the episode, because if I focus on the word at the end, I'm more than likely probably not going to remember what it was I wanted to share. So it's best that I just do it in the beginning. So forgive me for the long intro, but it's just better for me to start that way. Some people do it that way. Some people wait until the end. I have to do it in the beginning just because I will probably forget. So while it's still fresh in my mind, I did share just a little bit ago today. I wanted to share a testimony. I'm not going to share it on here, but it's a quick testimony that involves pictures of myself. Now, this was kind of a little bit difficult for me to do, but I really strongly felt led to share this. And I was a little apprehensive about it, a little bit nervous, but I thought, hey, you know what? Worst comes to worst, take it down, right? But what I did was, because I can't share pictures or videos on the podcast, unfortunately, I went ahead and reactivated my Facebook, and I just said, shared a little quick testimony, wrote it out in the post or typed it out, and I shared the pictures. So you will see some pictures of me from the past, and then some of me now or fairly recently. And the reason why I did that was because I felt led to just share real quick how far Yah has brought me, the transformation that he's done within me, and not just within me, but outwardly as well. And, things like he's helped deliver me from vanity and insecurities and things like that. So I wasn't really bad with vanity back then. However, I still was very worried about how I looked. I wore makeup, not a ton, but I wore makeup. I tried to do my hair how the styles were, and would even dye my hair and this and that and the next thing. And I never dressed provocatively per se, but, I dressed in a way that I wouldn't do it now, because I still feel isn't very modest, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. I just felt led to share that. So I went ahead and reactivated my Facebook. I'll leave it open for a day or two, just long enough for people to be able to see that. So if we are friends on Facebook, you will probably see that post at some point, or you already have, depending on when you listen to this podcast episode. If we aren't friends, this is an opportunity for you to reach out, say hi, and send me a friend request so that we can get connected. Now, I will say probably by tomorrow evening, possibly Sabbath morning, I'm going to deactivate my page again, because I really have no interest or feel led to keep my social media active. And I have no other social media. I mean, I have social media accounts, but I've rarely used them. So Facebook was really all I had, and I really don't feel led any longer to really have it anymore. I'm not going to delete it permanently, but I just don't want to have it for right now. So I also do not have a YouTube channel either. So the podcast is pretty much it. And that's really all that I want to have. And even then, more than likely at some point, I'll possibly drift away from that as well. So anyways, just an opportunity for you to just, for any of you who are interested, to just, number one, see what I look like. For those of you who have never met me or seen me, or we're not connected on Facebook, you can see me, and then just sharing a little testimony about how far Yah has brought me. So I just want to share that. If we are not connected on Facebook, my Facebook name is Amanda Yasharel. So Yasharel. I had to think about that for a minute. I'm so exhausted today. Oh my goodness. So you won't, the profile picture is not a picture of me anymore. It's a picture of a young woman with her head covered holding, I can't remember if it was a lamb or sheep or what it is. Anyways, I'm sure you'll find me. I don't think there's too many Amanda Yasharels. I really don't. So anyways, I just wanted to share that for those of you who are interested. You can hop on Facebook, check it out. If we're already friends, you can check it out. If we're not friends, we can connect if you like. And I'm only going to keep it open for probably about a day or two. So just wanted to share that testimony. I don't know why I felt led, and I was really nervous about, I don't like sharing pictures of me too much. I'm very self-conscious about all of that. Maybe it's an insecurity that Yah still needs to deliver me from. I don't know. I don't like to draw a lot of attention to myself. I really don't. And I've never been that way. Even before I began my walk with the Father, I've never been somebody who likes to draw attention or be the center of attention, or I just don't. That's just how I've always been. So especially going into my walk and then just, kind of understanding where Yah had brought me, I really, really didn't want to, share those kinds of things or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe one day Yahuwah will have me on YouTube channel with my family. Just, I don't know, day in the life kind of videos. Who knows, right? You never know. I wouldn't mind vlogging, but like I mentioned the other day, I am camera shy. So don't like pictures. I don't like videos. I really don't. Whenever I've had to meet with people on Zoom or Messenger video calls or whatever, I am just always okay, I don't want to be on here. And I don't know why I'm like that. It's weird, right? It's silly because we interact with people face to face all the time. What's the difference, right? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to pray about that. But anyways, I am just totally rambling at this point. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm exhausted. And there's two things for those of you who don't know me personally. When I'm exhausted, I get either really silly or goofy, or I ramble. Ask anybody that knows me, my family, anybody that knows me knows, you always know when I'm exhausted because I either act really silly or I ramble. So I apologize, y'all. But anyways, if you are interested in checking out that testimony, go ahead and hop on to my Facebook page and you will see it there. And please, y'all, be nice in the comments, okay? If you're going to comment, please be nice. Please, please, please. I would really appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to go into today's word. I am so sorry. All right, so this is going to be a two-part episode. This is going to be part one, obviously. And I just want to kind of share some words of encouragement for those that are going through trials, which I think many of us are at this point. And I know I've talked a lot about trials. And I also just want to share words of encouragement for those that are in a season of waiting. So seasons of waiting are very, very hard. I've been through them quite a few times, and each time has been extremely difficult. However, seasons of waiting are much like trials, because in the same way that in the scriptures, in the book of James, he says that, count it all joy when you face trials and, tribulations, because it helps us to persevere, right? It helps our faith to grow and we become closer to Yah. So in the same way, seasons of waiting are a lot like that, where, we persevere through them, we grow in them, we grow close to the Father, especially through prayer and things like that. Seasons of waiting are no fun, especially when we live in a world that, everything is so fast paced. Everybody wants everything right away. We live in what some people might say a microwave world where, you stick something in a microwave and it's done in a minute or less. You know what I mean? People don't want to wait anymore. People are very impatient, and, one of the fruits of the spirits is long suffering or patience, depending on what translation of the Bible you read. And it's so important that, especially with the things of Yahuwah, we need to wait, because it happens on His timing, and His timing is very different from ours, but his timing is perfect. He's never late, never early. He's always right on time. But seasons of waiting are not easy. I'm actually currently in a season of waiting myself, along with trials. So this has probably been one of the toughest seasons I've had in a really, really long time. This has really been stretching me thin to the point where I have almost tapped out. I'm just going to be completely honest and transparent with you all. Like, this has really pushed me to the breaking point. But what it's done for me is I've come even more closer than what I ever thought I could be with the Father. And I'm in scriptures every day and praying as often as I can. It's teaching me to persevere, and it's teaching me to trust him. So I'm thankful for that, and I always try to remember the words of Paul. And I think it's in Philippians chapter 4, where he says that, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I try to remain joyful in whatever situation I find myself, and I'm like telling myself that every day. Like, I'm going to be joyful even though X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to be joyful even though this was a bad day. I'm going to be joyful even though I'm dealing with pain today. I'm really trying to, I guess what a lot of people would say is remain positive. I'm just trying to remain joyful and firm on his promises and his word. And I just really try to always focus on my relationship with him, because that truly is the most important, I feel, right now in my life, and probably always in my life. So the title of these episodes are going to be Joy Comes in the Morning, because I tell you what, one thing I am so thankful for is, well, there are two things. Number one, that Yahuwah made one day after the other, because how many of you have gone through a day and you're like, I am so ready for this day to be over with? Like, what a long day, what an exhausting day, like what a stressful day. And you just can't wait for the day to be over, right? And then you go to sleep, and then praise Yah, you wake up the next morning, he's giving you another day of life, and you're just like, oh, fresh start, like everything that happened yesterday was yesterday. It's in the past, And so I'm so thankful that Yahuwah has created one day after the other. I really am, because if like everything just ran together and there was like never any break, oh my gosh, I don't think any of us could handle that, right? And another thing that, I'm really thankful for is that his mercies are new every morning. So joy comes in the morning, and his mercies are new every morning are actually scripture. So Psalm 35 in my translation reads, let me get there real quick. For his displeasure is for a moment, and his delight is for life. Weeping might last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. How many of you have cried yourself to sleep? I'm raising my hand. I know y'all can't see me. Again, I'm just being really goofy today. I'm tired. I have cried myself to sleep many a times, And so every time I read this scripture, it reminds me that even though I cried myself to sleep, or even though it was a really bad day, or I cried at some point throughout the day, joy comes in the morning, and boy, is that true. And I am so thankful for that gift that Yah gives us. I really, really am. And he does comfort us in these times. He absolutely provides comfort for us, and he's our refuge. I know I'm, especially in this season, I'm constantly seeking him for refuge, and I'm just so thankful that he's there to comfort me. And that there will be joy in the morning, and that it's a chance to just kind of start over, So I'm really thankful for that. And then the next scripture is in Lamentations. That sounded really funny when I said that. I think I'm saying that right. Lamentations. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, y'all. But anyways, it's in the Bible. It's a book in the Bible. Oh my gosh, I need to go to sleep. I'm tired. Let me see where it's at, y'all. I'm so sorry. I actually don't know. I'm not familiar where this book is in my Bible right now. Okay, 646. Let me get there because I want to read it to y'all. Let's see here. Bear with me, please. I apologize. Okay. Did I get here? Yes. Okay. So, Lamentations or Lamentations, I don't know. but it's chapter 3, verse 23, and I want to go ahead and read that real quick. Okay, let's see. There it is. Okay. Actually, let me read 22 first. So it says, the kindness is of Yahuwah, for we have not been consumed, for his compassions have not ended. They are new every morning. Great is your trustworthiness. So a lot of your translations will probably read really differently, but anyways, his mercies are new every morning, and I am absolutely thankful for that. I truly, truly am. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if that just wasn't available. It would be very difficult. So, all right. So I'm going to turn to Daniel. It's one of my favorite names. I love what it means too. For those of you who don't know what Daniel means in Hebrew, it means Yahuwah is my judge. So just want to share that with y'all. I've always loved the name Daniel. Okay, so I'm going to read from chapter 1, and I'm going to read verses 5 through 14. And there's a reason why I'm sharing this. It's going to be an example of standing firm on our beliefs, because I think that a lot of the reason why many of us are facing trials or are in seasons of waiting is because we have been called to be set apart. We have been called to follow and be obedient to the word of Yahuwah and his will for our lives if we've chosen that, okay? And so when we do that, what happens is we find ourselves going against the grain, so to speak, and it becomes difficult because we're trying to hold firm, right, on our beliefs, and it's hard when we've got so many people around us that are telling us, a lot of discouragement, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Why bother? Then we've got our society and culture the way that it is, and it can be really hard to hold fast, not only to our beliefs, but to this faith walk and to the commandments of Yah, because we know that our world, our society, our culture pretty much is the opposite of Yah's word. It contradicts, or it's just flat out disobedience and dismisses Yah's word altogether. So for those of us that stand firm in it, it can be really hard because we're going against the grain, so to speak. We're in seasons of waiting because we're waiting on Yah. It can be a very difficult process. It really, really can. It's hard when you feel like you're the oddball or like you're the only one, and you've got everybody around you, loved ones, friends, government, society, everybody's kind of coming at you or going against you, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Because we know the world does not follow Yah. So it can be really hard. So the example that I want to give is out of the book of Daniel. And let's see, starting at verse 5. Okay. So it says, and the sovereign, which means king, appointed for them a daily ration of the sovereign's food of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them. So they are referring to Daniel and his 3 friends. They were taken captive from Jerusalem, and they were brought into Babylon. Okay, and then it says, so that at the end thereof they should stand before the sovereign. Now among them were from the sons of Yehuda, Judah, so Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. So these were their Hebrew names, and then what they did was they gave them Babylonian names. So for Daniel, they called him, okay, this is where I have a hard time pronouncing some of these names, so I might butcher this name, or most of them. I apologize. So for Daniel, they gave him the name Belteshazzar. Belteshazzar. Oh my goodness. I think I just totally butchered that name. Okay. And Hananiah was given the name Shadrach, and Mishael was given the name Meshach, and Azariah was given the name Abednego. Hope I said that right. Okay. Verse 8. But Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the sovereign's food, nor with the wine which he drank. So he asked of the chief of the eunuchs not to defile himself. And Elohim, which is Hebrew for God, granted Daniel's kindness and compassion from the chief of the eunuchs. But the chef of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my master, the sovereign, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? then you would make my head guilty before the sovereign. And Daniel said to the overseer, whom the chief of the eunuchs had put over Daniel, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please try your servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearances be examined before you. So for some of you may be familiar, this is what the Daniel fast is, when you only eat like fruits, water, vegetables, things like that. So Daniel's basically saying, let us just eat and drink vegetables and water, and you'll see that we'll actually turn out a lot better than all of these other men that are eating all of the king's food and drinking wine and things like that. And it says that the eunuch listened to them in the matter and tried them for 10 days. So for 10 days, they ate and drank nothing but vegetables and water. So the reason why I share this with you is because it says that Daniel had on his heart not to defile himself with these foods. Why? Because a lot of these foods that were laid out before them were unclean. Okay, so for those of us that are following in the truth and, following Yahuwah's commandments in the Torah, there's a lot of things that we don't eat. We don't eat pork. There's certain seafoods we don't eat. Why? Because Yahuwah said they are unclean. He literally told us, do not eat these foods. And so what I love about that is that, Daniel didn't want to defile himself with these foods because he knew it was a sin, right? And so he asked the eunuch if, give him a chance for 10 days, let them eat and drink water and vegetables. And sure enough, after the 10 days, they ended up appearing more fit, more healthier, and all those kinds of things than anybody else. So my point is, though, is that there are many of us that are faced with situations like that where we have to stand firm on our beliefs. So for some of you who work, you might tell them, listen, I can't work on this day because the scriptures say I'm not supposed to work on this day. Or listen, I'm not going to take the vaccine because what's in the vaccine is unclean. I'm not going to do it. And you know what? For a lot of us, no matter what it is, a lot of us have had to sacrifice. And a lot of us have maybe, quote unquote, lost certain things. But remember, we might lose a lot in this world, but we gain so much in the Messiah. Scripture literally tells us that we might lose out on a lot, within this world. But remember, when we're called to be set apart, that's exactly what we're supposed to do, is be set apart and sacrifice and stay away from the things that are of the world, because the things of the world are not of Yahuwah. It is of the enemy. Okay. So I always love that example because it really just truly shows us, that we need to stand firm for the things of Yah. So standing firm, there's a word for this. So it's called resolve. And resolve just basically means to remain steadfast in our faith walk and on our beliefs, And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, resolve, standing firm, takes courage. Listen, it's not easy. I personally have lost family members. I have lost friends. I have lost jobs, all because of my faith walk. That's it. It's not because of anything I've done personally to anybody or anything like that. It's been because of my faith walk. Many people have turned away from me. Can you believe, and I know I shared this before, but back when I was looking for work, can you believe I had applied to a church to be a preschool teacher, because that's what I was before Yahuwah changed a lot of things in me and before the pandemic hit. I was a preschool teacher. I had gone to school for that and everything. And can you believe I had applied to this church it was a Christian church, to be a preschool teacher. And when I explained to him that I did not celebrate Christmas and Easter, I didn't celebrate the pagan holidays, I told him that I keep, God's feast days. And then I told him, I cannot work Saturdays because Saturdays, is a Sabbath. I know that for many Christians and Catholics and things like that, it's Sundays, but no, it's Saturdays. And, if I can't eat certain foods or, it had a lot to do with that. It had also to do with a couple of other things, but can you believe that this gentleman literally told me, he said, and y'all, this is how I knew that I was on the right path, because this gentleman, being a Christian, being a believer, working in a church ministry, okay, he tells me maybe the reason why you're lacking so much and having all these issues is because of your beliefs. And I really honestly couldn't believe that he had said something like that to me, but at the same time, it confirmed to me I was on the right path. Y'all have heard me share on here in some episodes certain trials that me and my family are facing. Let me tell you something. One of the main reasons why my family and I are in the financial hardship we're in is because we refuse to get vaccinated. Okay, that was one of the things that Yahuwah made very clear to us not to do, that it wasn't from him, and that in these vaccines are harmful things and unclean things. I don't even want to, maybe I might make an episode one day, I don't know. I might have already talked about it. There are some really horrible things in these vaccines, not to mention that I find it just really, really crazy that this mysterious disease runs rampant, kills so many people, and then they all of a sudden have a vaccine for it months later. You know, when in history and in the past, it's taken much longer to develop a vaccine for any disease that we've had or any pandemic that we've had. You know what I mean? Anyways, y'all have heard me voice my opinion on the whole, I call it plandemic, because it was definitely a plan and an agenda. But what's sad is that so many people lost their lives. You know, that's senseless. Almost even genocide, if you will. I hope I said that right. But, you know, we are in the situations we're in because of our beliefs, because of what we stand for. And we won't go back on it. We know because the scriptures tell us that this is what we're going to face. We're going to be persecuted. We're going to be pressured. We're going to be laughed at. We're going to be mocked. We're going to be all these things because we follow the Messiah. And, you know, I have lost family members because they couldn't grasp why all of a sudden I stopped celebrating Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving and, you know, all these things, you know, birthdays and anniversaries and stuff. I don't know. I'm still praying about that. Same thing with Mother's Day and Father's Day. We didn't celebrate it this year or last year, but something we're still praying about. But people just couldn't understand it. And you know what? All I would tell them is the answers is in the scriptures. But see, the answers are in the scriptures that all these churches and all these believers want you to forget. Like I was just telling y'all in, I think, my very last episode, you know, is that our country, I don't know if any other countries, you know, do this or not, but we sell Bibles without half of the Bible. Half of the Bible's missing because they're out there teaching everybody that, oh, we don't have to read that no more. It doesn't apply to us. We're not Jewish, or that happened so long ago, or, oh, that's been done away with. And, you know, all of these false things that are being taught to people. And a lot of, well, not a lot, because I follow the whole Bible, but, you know, quite a bit of my beliefs come from that first half of the Bible, you know, and it's like, and I've explained it, but if you read it, it's like, we are the seed of Abraham. We are spiritually Israel. So we are to follow these commandments. Why? Because Yahuwah said very clearly, you will follow these for generation and generation and generations to come forever. But people are being taught a false doctrine and a false message. So, you know, like I said, there's Bibles out there being sold that don't even have the Old Testament in it. You know, so it's no wonder that people are walking around, you know, with the knowledge that they have, because it's what they're being taught. And because they don't see it. So, but anyways, my point is that my trials and my seasons of waiting have all been because I'm following Yahuwah, you know. And I know some of you might think, well, if he loves us so much, if he's a, you know, God of love, why does he put us through these things? He doesn't put us through these things. We put ourselves through these things. Not only that, but, you know, a lot of it has to do with the world we live in. We live in a fallen world, you know. Plus, you know, Yeshua even tells us himself that we will have trials. We will have heartbreaks. We will have issues. But he says, take heart because you will overcome it. Or he says, take heart because I have overcome the world, or something like that. Anyways, that'll be part of part 2. I'll be reading those scriptures. So yeah, I mean, taking a stand for Yah's words has consequences. Okay, and I've talked about this a lot throughout my whole podcast. about taking a stand and being, in everybody else's eyes, the oddball or, peculiar or, why? Because very few of us are following the word. Because everybody's so caught up in the world that we live in. This modern day, what I call modern day Babylon. Because that's what it is. We are in modern day Babylon. So, taking a stand has its consequences, but not consequences in the terms of, we're in the wrong or anything like that. It has its consequences because we're going against the grain. We are being obedient to God's word while the rest of the world is not. And so that's going to put us at really, really awkward situations and positions at times. I can't tell you how many people I know personally or have just seen within the body that have lost their jobs because they stood on Yah's word, right? Or have lost family. I mean, myself included. But you know what? And I say that we're in a financial hardship, but you know what? Every single day, Yahuwah has provided. We may not be living comfortably by the world standards right now, but Yahuwah provides for us every single time. We don't go without. We do struggle because, well, again, by society standards and all these kinds of things. I mean, look at everything right now. We're in inflation right now. Groceries, I just went food shopping recently, right? I think about a week or two ago. And it's getting to where you can't even feed your family. But that's because that's not what Yahuwah is doing to us. That's what our government is doing to us. You know what I mean? Most of us can barely afford to pay our rents or mortgages because of how crazy expensive everything is. But that is not Yah's doing. That is the government. That is the world, society, and culture that we live in. You know what I mean? But I have seen so many families in this walk that are part of the body that are blessed and provided for, and they have in abundance. Why? Because they stand firm, and that's part of the reward by Yahuwah that many of us get, when we stand firm, when we have resolve. And one of those things is He gives us favor. We end up finding favor. Like for my family and I, praise Yah, He gave us favor with our landlord, and that we were able to be here another month. Next month I have no idea what's going to happen, but for this month, Yahuwah gave us favor. He provided. I've learned to take everything one day at a time. I don't look ahead of what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. I've learned not to do that because that just creates anxiety, and that just shows lack of trust in Yah. We need to just live in the moment one day at a time because one, we're not promised tomorrow, right? And two, we need to just trust in Him. Walking by faith, right? We're walking by faith, not by sight. So, that's the whole thing about faith and about trusting in Yahuwah. So I wanted to share that, and then a little something more on trials. So there's a phrase that says, or it goes, bloom where you have been planted. Okay? Bloom where you have been planted, meaning make the most of where Yahuwah has you in the moment. Whether it's a season of waiting, whether it's a trial, whatever kind of trial that might be. Again, remember, think of James 1, where he says, count it all joy, brothers and sisters, when you face trials and tribulations and pressures and things like that, okay? Make the most of where Yahuwah has you. Again, take it one day at a time. Take that day to be thankful for another day of life and use it to praise Him, whether it's a good day or a bad day. Whether it's a happy day or a sad day. Whether it's a day full of pain or whatever, or a day of relaxation. Regardless, give Yah praise, right? And make the most of where you're at, of what you have, no matter what. And here's the thing, it doesn't mean that you will like the situations you're in, right? None of us really do like the trials that we're going through or the season of waiting. Many of us don't like waiting, like I said earlier. None of us really like to wait. That's why one of the fruits of the Spirit happens to be long-suffering or patience, because many of us lack patience in this world. I mean, I remember when I used to cashier, I used to get so upset whenever I had a line and, the people behind the person I was taking care of would get so upset because maybe they were taking their time, or maybe it was an elderly person who needed to take their time. And I would see these people get so visibly bothered that it would make the person uncomfortable. And that used to upset me because it's like, you know what? Relax. It's not going to kill you to wait a few more minutes. Have understanding with people. Have patience. I've even had people tell me when I'm at work, they're like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to handle that the way you did or have patience the way you did. And it's like, I understand, but it just give it to Yah and he'll help you with it. But one of the best things we can do, brothers and sisters, is walk in the fruits of the Spirit. Walk in the Spirit, not in our flesh, because that doesn't get us anywhere good. And you know what? Life is too short to be constantly bothered and upset about the little things. So you had to wait at line and, the other day at McDonald's for 15 minutes longer than what it normally takes. Big deal. There are so many much more worse things going on than that. You know what I mean? We got to take it easy. Not to mention stress is so bad for us. Stress is such a silent killer. Stress can really manifest in ways in our bodies that can really pose as an illness or make somebody very sick. Not to mention that Yahweh never intended for us to live that way. We need to be joyful. Like Paul says, try to remain joyful no matter what situation you find yourself in. I know it can be hard. I'm not saying that I don't struggle with this. Oh, I have. Just yesterday, I had probably one of the worst days I've had in a long time. It was a rough day for me yesterday. It really was. Emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. It was a rough day for me yesterday. I was in tears yesterday. It was a bad day. Again, was so thankful for today to wake up and have another day and that his mercies are new every morning. But yeah, I don't always get it right either. It is hard, and I kept trying to remind myself yesterday and going in scripture and reached out to a few people close to my life, asked for prayer, and it was a tough day, but I got through it. Yahuwah sustained me. He carried me through it, along with people that I love that helped out as well. And I got through it, but our attitudes make a difference. Not only for ourselves, but for those watching us, those around us. People are watching how you handle things. People that are in your life are watching to see your faith in action, how you handle your trials, how you handle your day, how you handle that mess up that happened at work or that thing that happened, on the road or at home or whatever. People are watching. They want to see. This is our opportunity to exemplify our faith and our fruits of the Spirit. People don't want to see someone constantly getting upset and throwing a fit and just, so much so that maybe even the people around you are walking on eggshells. They're afraid to upset you or bother you. Instead, we need to exhibit the opposite. Some of the strongest people, let me tell you all something. Some of the strongest people are the ones that suffer in silence, are the ones that go through it alone. But on the outside, they wear a smile. They're kind, they're compassionate to others, they put their problems aside to help other people. Those are some of the strongest people around. And I know this because I'm one of those people. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm not saying this out of pride or boasting. But I have gone through such just extremely hard trials alone, to where people really didn't even know what I was struggling with. I would go home and cry, and I would go into work the next day like nothing happened. I didn't take my trials or my problems or my bad attitudes or moods with me to work or anywhere else that I went. I really always try to remain. Now, every now and then I might have let it seep through because I am a sensitive person. And something could really hit me hard to where I can't hold back the tears. And believe me, I don't like when that happens. It's a little bit embarrassing. I don't like to really cry in front of people. I have had it happen though. And I think one of the biggest ones for me, I shared recently in an episode called When Trials Become Testimonies. And I was sharing about my experience at a job. And, I ended up crying at that job. I really did. I ended up crying at that job and I was embarrassed. I didn't want to show it, but there was just so much going on at that workplace, that it really just got to me. And normally I don't let stuff get to me very quickly or very easily like that. I usually try to handle things a little bit better. I don't know why there. It was different. And then I just tried to express how I felt. And as I was doing that, like, have you ever just talked with somebody and you're just explaining and all of a sudden the tears just start flowing and you're like, oh man, why is this happening? I didn't want to cry. Like, I didn't want to cry in front of this person or these people. That's what happened to me that day. It was just so many emotions, and if I have any men listening, I know what you're probably thinking. Yeah, you women, you're so emotional. Yeah, we are. But you know what? Yahweh gave us those emotions for a reason. And you men have them too. So you may not show them as much because you were taught in our modern society that if men show emotions or crying, that they're weak. And I talked about this too. Listen, if I have any men listening, you can show emotions. Breaking down or crying or showing frustration or whatever does not make you less of a man. It doesn't make you weak. In fact, whenever I see a man cry, oh my gosh, it tears me up inside. Maybe because, again, in our culture, we don't really see that because of what men are taught. But I think that men that can show their emotions, of course, in a way that's not out of control, but I think men that can be honest and open and transparent and show their emotions, that's a very sexy thing. That's just my opinion. Seeing a man cry, it tears me up. It's just like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. There's nothing wrong with that. It does not make you less of a man. It doesn't make you weak. I think anybody who shows emotion like that, male or female, it is because it's emotion that needs to come out. And again, I don't really like to show it too much to other people. I really try to remain, composed, but sometimes you can't help it, you just can't. And there are some people that are more sensitive than others. And I'm one of those people. I'm a very sensitive person. I take everything to heart. I guess I'm what you would call empathic, I guess. I just have a lot of empathy, not for myself, but for others. That's why I can't watch the news. I take everything to heart. There's a saying in the world says, where an individual wears their heart on their sleeve. And that's me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And, of course, I'm ashamed of this now, but I felt that so strongly that's why I had a little heart tattooed on my wrist, the outside of my wrist. Because that's what that symbolizes, that I do wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not always a great thing either, but especially when you're around people that take advantage of it. But yes, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am very sensitive. I'm very empathic to other people. I guess it's just the heart that Yahweh gave me, but there are people that are more sensitive than others. And then there are people that can walk around and they're a little bit stronger in that area, where they can kind of, hold it all in and, some release at home in private, or some never release, which is not a good thing. It's not healthy. We need to have a release, our bodies were not made to hold onto those kinds of things. Scripture even says so. Yeshua even tells us to lay our burdens at his feet, and take upon us his yoke, because it's light and easy. We're not meant or created to take on these huge burdens that weigh us down day after day. And boy, do a lot of us walk around with some heavy weights on our shoulders, just bogging us down day after day. That's why it's important that we talk with people, that we have fellowship, that we pray, that we seek Yah, that we cry out to Him. And there's even other kinds of releases for those of us that are married. This is why even lovemaking is important. Not just so that we remain connected with our spouses and, our area of intimacy in our marriage is healthy, but so we can have that release too. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I've heard women say, oh, I feel like my husband just uses me because he had a bad day and, then he wants to, get busy in the bed and stuff. And I know it's just because he had a bad day. And it's like, okay, number one, that doesn't mean that he loves you any less or that he's just using you. He loves you and he's receiving that connection while he's making love to you. But yes, it's also a release for him. Yeah, he had a long day. He had a bad day. It was stressful. And, the one thing that he needs at that point is to be able to come home, to a home that is welcoming and safe and secure, to be able to come home to his wife that's loving and accepting him with open arms. So yeah, the next thing he's going to want to do is be even closer to you and at the same time have a nice release. Because come on, let's all be honest here. We all feel that way when after, a time of intimacy. It's pleasurable. You know what I'm saying? Like women, please don't even act like you don't feel the same way either. You know what I mean? Like, it is pleasure. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with your husband seeking that as a release from his very long and stressful day that he had, or even for you. There's nothing wrong with you seeking your husband, like, listen, I had a really bad day. Like, I need some loving right now. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Just had to throw that out there because it is another form of release. And there's other things too, getting together and, doing something that you love, something that you have an interest in, a hobby, listening to relaxing music, taking a hot bath, a bubble bath. There's other ways to just really just wind down from your day. And of course, I will always recommend, first and foremost, prayer and reading the scriptures. Let me tell you, through this trial, that is one thing that has really pulled me through, has been reading the scriptures, mainly in Psalms. Psalms has really just been my go-to every day. And it has honestly, along with some other things, it has been, just such a relief. Like, it has sustained me just so much. Hang on, y'all. I got to drink some water. I'm sorry. Okay, so I recommend reading the scriptures, listening to worship and praise music. That is incredible as well. But again, going back to what I was saying, there are people in your life, whether it's people at work, friends, family, your spouse, your children. There is always at least one person that's watching you to see how you handle these things. And more importantly, they want to see, your faith in action. And that's something that I always try to remind myself, because I want to exemplify that. I want to help others get through their trials and their seasons of waiting. That's just how I feel. So, anyways, that's the word. I hope that it was a source of encouragement and helpful for those who are facing trials and seasons of waiting, which I think many of us are. And, speaking of which, I want to say once again, thank you so much for all that have been praying for our situation and just reaching out just to say hello and things like that. Really, really appreciate it so very much. It has been such a blessing and just so helpful during this time. And as always, the email is there for all of you to reach out to if you have prayer requests. If you have prayer requests, please reach out. Listen, another thing too that I wanted to mention, I don't know if I have before, and it doesn't even matter why you feel this way. If you want to reach out via email and you don't really want to say who you are, you want to remain, okay. Okay, I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I can never pronounce this word correctly. I don't know why. I don't know if I have some kind of speech impairment or what. I've never been able to say this word. So please bear with me as I say this, and please don't laugh at me. If you want to remain anonymous, I said it. I always say that so wrong. I don't know if there's a way that you can do that via email. I don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm going to know you by your email unless you have your name in your email. And even then, I don't personally know you. But if you want to remain anonymous somehow, if you don't want to share a lot of details, you don't want to share who you are, whether you're male or female, but you need prayer, you can still email me, and I will totally respect that. I am giving my ministry email. I haven't had any spam. I haven't had any issues like that. So if you're emailing me from a legit email address, or even if you have to create a whole new one, just because you want to remain anonymous for whatever reason, listen, I totally respect that. I just want people to feel like they can reach out, especially if they have, they need prayer, they have prayer requests, or you need counseling. Now, counseling might be different because then I may need to know a little bit more about you. But listen, if you just have prayer requests, please reach out. If you just want to say hello and connect, please reach out. I'm here for you all, and that's the purpose of this ministry. Well, there's two purposes. Purposes is to share and minister words. And then the other half of the purpose is for there to be communication and connection for those that want to talk, that want to connect, that need prayer, that need counseling, and whatever else. So, I just want to add that because I've had people come forward and I hear from them once, I respond back, and then I never hear from them again. And I don't know if it's because they got scared, or maybe they're married and maybe their spouse didn't agree. Listen, if you're married, I just want to say this real quick. I think I talked about where I said, please have patience and grace with me if it takes me a little bit to get back to you. I don't know if I said this, but let me go ahead and share it anyways. If you are married and you would like to seek counsel or ask a question and just get advice on, please go to your spouse first and talk to him about it. I do not condone, nor do I agree with spouses coming to seek counsel or ask questions without their spouse knowing. I just don't think that that's a good idea. I think it's a disrespect toward your spouse. Now, if you run it by your spouse and they say, yeah, hey, no problem, go ahead, you can reach out to them or whatever. I don't really want to reach out with you at this time. Then feel free to reach out. If it's something that they don't agree with and they don't want you to do it, then please don't email me, okay? I just find that that's a big disrespect, and, I don't condone that. I don't think that that's okay to do. That's just going to make things worse in your marriage. And again, if you are married, it doesn't have to be both spouses reaching out. If the other one really doesn't want to reach out, but you two are on the same page about it, then reach out to me. If both want to reach out, then both reach out, but I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're single, obviously that isn't a problem. Reach out to me whenever you feel led. But listen, pray about it first, because again, I've had people reach out, they send me an email, they let me know who they are, what's going on. I reach back out to them and I never hear from them again, pray about it. Pray first to see if Yah wants you to reach out, and then if you're feeling nervous or fearful, rebuke that. Or even just let me know, hey, listen, I really want to reach out and discuss some things, but I'm nervous or I'm just not sure. So I can pray for you concerning these things, because I get it. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to anything like that. I'm just here to help. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Please utilize the email address, okay? Again, if you feel the need to be anonymous, then you can be. You don't have to tell me who you are. Again, if it's just to connect or not connect, but I guess ask a question, because really to connect and get or counsel, I'm going to need to know more about you. It would just be really hard for me to counsel somebody that I don't even know what your name is. You know what I mean? So, But for those that maybe have a question or whatever, if you just don't feel comfortable yet with revealing who you are, or for whatever reason, and I respect that, then don't. You don't have to tell me who you are. Like I said, I'm not going to look at your email and try to figure out who you are, or, anything like that. You don't even have to tell me if you're male or female or anything. I mean, I totally get it, and I respect that. So I just want everybody to feel comfortable, and I want everybody to feel that if they feel led to reach out, they've gotten the green light from Yah and their spouse if they're married, then please feel free to reach out, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So just wanted to share that. I hope that all makes sense. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And then I remembered, just real quick, for those of you who want to get connected on Facebook, my Facebook page is going to be open for the next day or two. Check out my brief testimony on there with some pictures that I shared as well. Please be nice in the comments if you decide to comment. I would really appreciate that. So, all right, that is it for this word. I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place, and I'm just kind of not myself today. I am exhausted. I am getting ready to honestly turn in for the night because I'm exhausted. Early night for sure in this household. So anyways, y'all, I love y'all so much. Stay tuned for part 2 that will be coming. I don't know when. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday. I don't know. So if I don't talk to y'all tomorrow or Sabbath, I pray you all have a very blessed Shabbat and a restful Sabbath. I know I am looking forward to the Sabbath to rest, hopefully sleep in, and just really do nothing but just praise Yah and be in His Word. So I pray the same for you all. And again, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or Sunday, but stay tuned for the next episode. I will talk to you all then. Have a very, very blessed evening.